When I walked into the office one morning, everyone had a strange look on their faces. Whispers, furtive glances. As I walked to my desk, I felt a tightness inside me that I couldn't explain. I didn't know what it was yet, but my instincts told me that something was wrong, and I soon found out. The person I trusted most in the company, the colleague I called my right-hand man, had betrayed me. A betrayal that was about to destroy not only my career, but my whole life. My name is Marcus Hale. I'm 41 years old. I've spent many years in the financial industry, particularly in investment advisory. I started young, worked hard, persevered through adversity. 10 years ago, I started my own advisory firm. I started in a small office with a desk and a computer, but over time we grew. We managed strong portfolios, we won big investors. There was only one man who was there for me through it all. Leo, my friend from university years. I trusted him like a brother. Even my wife Julia sometimes envied our working relationship. I shared everything with Leo, the company's future plans, investor lists, strategic dossiers. Anyway, in his eyes I was not just a partner, I was a mentor. At least I thought I was, because what really happened was beyond my imagination. We were about to close a deal with a major fund, and this was going to be our breakthrough moment. All the presentations were ready. The data was strong, and the bond of trust with investors was stronger than ever. The team worked day and night. I couldn't count the days we stayed up all night in the office. Everyone knew that this deal was our turning point. And me, I trusted Leo more than ever, because he was going to be involved in the final negotiations with the fund representative. He was my right-hand man, maybe a better presenter than me. But just 3 days before the day of the meeting, everything fell apart. The fund representative decided not to work with us without giving any reason. No email, no phone call, no explanation. They just said, no agreement could be reached and ended the process. At that moment, I only had question marks in my head. So much preparation, so much clarity. How could it be? I spent the first night barely sleeping. I fooled myself that maybe it was just a technical problem. But the real shock came a few days later. A new news item was published on the competitor's website. It was written in big font on the home page. Industry-shattering transfer. Marcus Hale's right-hand man now with them. I clicked on the photo and what I saw froze me cold. Leo, smiling beside them. He was holding the new company's file, and he was now dealing on their behalf with the fund we had fought so hard for. That fund was at the center of our strategy, and now that strategy had been stolen from them. He had fooled not only me, but the whole team. His departure had been quiet, but the wreckage he left behind turned his silence into a scream. Everyone turned to me and gave me the same look. How could you trust so many close to you? Worse, the media turned it into a show of power. Shock transfer in the financial industry. Marcus Hale's right hand moves to a rival. This headline was everywhere. From LinkedIn to Twitter, news sites to industry newsletters. My company's name was no longer associated with the word trust. Partnership offers were put on hold. Even some former investors started withdrawing their shares. And the most painful part, the person who committed this betrayal was not just a colleague. He was my friend. He was the man I sat at the same table with for years. The man who cut the cake together on my child's birthday. The man who hugged me at my wedding and said, "I'm proud of you." Now that man had passed through my back and become the shiny face of a rival company. And I had lost not only my job, but a friendship, a trust, a piece of me. The first days I was devastated, I really was. I didn't go to the office. I didn't open the curtains. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't even read the emails. Dozens of meetings marked on my calendar. Projects shelved, a team adrift. They were all waiting for me, but I was lost inside myself. I couldn't even look in the mirror, let alone in public, because the man I saw in the mirror was no longer Marcus Hale. He was an unfinished story. A man betrayed, humiliated, pushed off the stage. But then, one morning, with sunlight falling in the corner of my eye, a notification came through on my phone. A simple but powerful message from a former client. Marcus, this is not you. You didn't write this story, but you can write the ending. That sentence got so deeply into me. I stood up slowly, stood in front of the mirror, and looked myself in the eye for the first time. This story will not end here, I said, and I will write the ending. The first step was to see the damage clearly. I tallied up all the damage: loss of investment, image damage, customer flight, internal demotivation. I listed every item in detail. Then I focused on the company Leo had passed through. I started to see them as a target, not just a competitor. I worked like a detective. I contacted people who knew the CEO of that company. I researched their PR agencies. I analyzed their past relationships with their investors, which markets they were active in, with whom they had strategic partnerships, their employee satisfaction. I analyzed everything one by one. In the meantime, I was starting a quiet revolution internally. I established a small but strong core team of 3 people who were loyal to me. I talked to each of them one-on-one. I didn't just assign them tasks, I gave them targets. We were no longer just a company, we were starting a struggle. We identified the digital traces of every file, every presentation that Leo took from us. We knew which document was downloaded on which date, with whom it was shared, where the presentation content was copied. And yes, the law was part of this battle. I hired an IT lawyer specialized in the field. We added the digital traces to the case file. But my plan for this part was clear. The case would not be filed immediately. We would wait. While they were drunk with victory, we would quietly gather evidence, because the real blow was struck at the most vulnerable moment. At the same time, I turned to a new strategy. We started working on an investment model we had never tried before. It's risky, but the potential return is huge. We targeted the new generation of digital investors, not traditional investors. We contacted crypto-backed investment platforms. We started collaborating with a secret software team to develop an AI-driven financial management tool. Everything went on behind closed doors. Throughout this whole process, I didn't make any emotional outbursts. I never showed my anger, because this war would no longer be won with anger, but with reason. Silence was my greatest weapon, and in that silence, a plan was born that would make history. Finally, the moment I had been waiting for arrived. Leo's company started announcing projects based on our old presentations. They started getting media coverage. Soon after, we announced the first major collaboration with the new system we had quietly developed. And it was a bombshell. The market was shaken. Leo's company was unprepared for this step we were taking. And when it became clear that we were moving forward with a brand new technology they didn't have, investors turned their eyes back to us. I pounded on the table, but this time not in anger, but as the result of an absolute plan. That morning was different. There was a strange silence inside me, but at the same time an intense energy. The first act of a scene I had been preparing for years was about to open. As I buttoned my shirt, I looked in the mirror once more, and this time I saw not indecision but determination, because I knew that day was not just a meeting day. It was the day the truth would come to light. There was a new product launch of a rival company. A giant hall, dozens of press members, investors, and of course Leo on stage. My old friend, now my enemy. The way he posed for the cameras before going on stage, the arrogant smile on his lips, the I won look in his eyes. He didn't know anything. It hadn't even started yet. I didn't go to that launch. I didn't need to go, because the real bomb was going to explode outside that hall, in a different place. Just 15 minutes before the launch, we launched the global launch of my company's new platform online. But not only that, at the same time, A comprehensive report went online with technical evidence that Leo had copied my company's strategic documents without authorization. This report was both served to the press and delivered individually to the relevant investors. And we didn't stop with the document. Everything from the date, time, IP address, and email logs were included with the document. There was more. After we initiated legal proceedings, the court issued an injunction based on the confidentiality agreement that Leo had violated during the transition. What that meant was this: the product Leo was launching could not be legally used, presented, or distributed, just as he was on stage saying, "We are changing the world with our new product." An urgent notification on his phone shattered his expression. The surprise in front of the camera, the whispers in the crowd, the CEO's face turning white. It was all live, in front of everyone's eyes. Investors withdrew their hands. The media stepped back. The CEO cut the launch short. And Leo walked off the stage that day, but this time not of his own volition. He was pushed, just like he pushed me years ago. I was in my office at the time, looking out the window, coffee in my hand, newspapers in front of me. The headlines were clear. Fall of the false hero, Hale is back. Those who pushed me into the darkness were now sinking into their own darkness. But I came not with anger, but with justice. I was quiet, patient, intelligent. That day I realized that sometimes the most powerful revenge is not taken with shouting, but with documentation, strategy, and a timely step. Now I had the last word. And in this story I put an exclamation mark, not a period. I would like to hear your story in the comments. Have you experienced a similar betrayal? Write and let's talk together. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on such true stories of betrayal and justice. Because here, justice speaks, not revenge.